Hello again, folks. So I spent the better part of the past 2 weeks sorting stamps. And I gotta tell you, there is something so relaxing and therapeutic about this hobby. And God, I love it. And you don't need to take my word for it. I think I can prove it to you. Find yourself a bag of stamps. You can get these on eBay, shopgoodwill.com, estate sales, garage sales, antique stores sometimes. Take your stamps and sit down at a table. And before you begin, make note of how stressed you are. Give yourself a score, 1 to 10. I am at a 7 in terms of stress. Then spend an hour just looking at your stamps. Maybe you sort them by color or topic or country, and you just go through them, figuring out what interests you, what's fascinating. Maybe it's simply organizing them by color that's interesting. Do that for an hour. Then, afterwards, assess your stress level again. I am willing to bet you that after an hour spent with your stamps, your stress, your anxiety, your angst, whatever it is, will have gone down. That's how therapeutic this hobby really is. The past couple of weeks have been challenging for me. And so I really appreciated having a project to dive into in stamp collecting. And following several of your advice on my most recent video, I have decided to submit to the Minnesota State Fair's stamp collecting contest a collection of my favorite used USA stamps. And in order to figure out which were my favorite USA stamps, I went through my entire collection. This is the last bag I've yet to sort. All right, here's where I am. And it's worth emphasizing, this is not the finished product. I will do a nice cover. I will fill some of the gaps in here, and I will show you the results down the road a bit. But here is where I'm at currently. My favorite USA used stamps include these wonderful classic stamps. I especially love that 3-cent grilled. What a wonderful cancel. I am looking for socked on the nose stamps. They are my favorite. Socked on the nose means that you can see the town, you can see the date, and it is clear in the center of the stamp. I love socked on the nose stamps, and I loved grilled stamps. And here are my banknotes. I love this page. It just looks so cool, nearly full with some great fancy cancels. And a fancy cancel is postmasters back in the day used corks to cancel stamps, and sometimes they would carve cool designs into them, like that 3-cent right there. And so us collectors call those fancy cancels. My favorite one on this page is that 12-cent banknote. Oh, very cool. Doesn't that just look like a neat page? All right, moving on to the Colombians, which are some of the best stamps in American philately. Very sought after, very beautiful engraved stamps. I particularly am fond of that 2-cent Fresno cancel from 1893. How cool. Doesn't that just place you in California in 1893? I want to go hunt for gold. Over to the Trans-Mississippi. Another beloved set of stamps from American Philately. My favorite is that 4-cent. It features an amazing image of a Native American hunting a buffalo. This copy has a great Chicago cancel, which I love. Moving into some of the early 20th century stamps. The Franklin and Washington set from the 1900s to the 1920s or so are tough to identify, but fun to figure out the proper places in your albums. I especially love that pre-canceled 5-cent with the Minneapolis, Minnesota cancel on it. Seeing as how this is going to the State Fair in Minnesota, I tried to focus on cancels that were local, try to appeal to the judges. I love the Panama Pacific issue as well. That's a nice 10-cent with what looks to be a Michigan cancel. As we progress throughout the 20th century, we move into this cool series. I love that Madison Square Station stamp. Socked on the nose, 1932. That just places you in New York in 1932. Cool pre-cancel on that Washington. Moving on to the 1920s. That is a particularly cool cancel on the 2-cent red George Washington from 1923. Looks like an airplane. Very cool. As you move into the beginning of airmail, it's fun to see the real old airplane stamps and real old airplane cancels. Some more very cool Chicago, Illinois cancels. I love that Yellowstone 5-cent socked on the nose stamp. And again, I have these somewhere. I'm hoping to find them in that bag. And it'll be just such a joy to fill a gap. That's one of the favorite parts about stamp collecting, is when you find one you need to complete your collection. Particularly cool souvenir sheet with Duluth, Minnesota, stamped right in the middle of it. Again, appealing to the hometown judges, hopefully. Oh, what a beautiful stamp from Alaska. Just a gorgeous mountain scene. Some more nice pre-cancels. And a cool U.S. Navy cancel from the late 1930s. So you can imagine what was happening with the person that sent a letter using that stamp. New York's World's Fair canceled on that one. Very, very cool. And moving into the airmails. Some of my favorite stamps. Very, very cool. That's very meta to me. It's got an airplane airmail cancel on an airmail stamp. I particularly love that. And a nice collection of the parcel post stamps from 1912 to 1913. Great New York cancel on that one. Along with the special handling and the parcel post due. And wrapping up our back of the book section with the special deliveries. Nice Bemidji cancel. Bemidji is a town in northern Minnesota. and some cool postage too. I do have nice newspaper stamps. One of you sent me a nice, very nice newspaper stamp. However, I'm not going to include that in an entry to the Minnesota State Fair. And there you go. I'm going to put some more stamps on the back here to kind of round out the collection. That's where I'm at. It's not done yet, but I am quite pleased. And tell me in the comment section down below, what do you think? Do you think the judges are going to resonate with this collection? Is there anything you think I can do to increase my chances of winning a blue ribbon? Well, if you're new to stamp collecting and YouTube just happened to recommend this video to you, go ahead and find yourself a bag of stamps. There are benefits to this hobby well beyond stress relief, though I appreciated that part of it the past couple of weeks. And for those of you who have watched my channel for a while, thank you for your patience with me as I missed last week. I will be back to my regular schedule going forward. And if you liked today's video, please go ahead and like it and do subscribe to the channel. It means a great deal to me. Until next time, take care.